Hi, everyone. My name is Kirk Bachman, and welcome back to The Ultimate Dish. In today's episode, we're speaking with Edward Leonard, an award-winning certified master chef, Culinary Olympic gold medalist, prolific author, and international lecturer. He has received recognition and awards around the globe for his contributions to the industry and passionate leadership, including the Chairman's Medal from the American Academy of Chefs, Cordon Culinary Hall of Fame induction, and 2 honorary doctorate degrees in culinary arts and hospitality management. And those who know him simply call him Chef. Join us today as we chat with Chef Leonard about his incredible journey to Olympic gold, his culinary North Star, and the impact that he's made in the private club industry, and so much more. And can I just tell you how excited I am? There he is. Good morning, Chef.
Good morning, sir. How you doing?
I'm a little tired after that intro there, buddy.
Yeah.
And I probably could have gone on and on and on and on.
No, man. It's as I always say, we cook with water, we don't walk on water. So
There's the first of many quotes. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. You look
You
phenomenal.
too.
Thanks for taking the time. Beautiful jacket. I'm not surprised. Hey, how are you doing more than anything? Your story's amazing. How's the family? How are the kids? How are you doing?
Doing great, man. I coming back to New York has been kind of nice. When I came back, you coming from Florida of all places, right? Not so much Chicago to New York, but Florida, people are like, no, people don't do that. They go from New York to Florida.
They go the opposite way, yeah.
Yeah. But it's great to be back. I worked in the city for a long time. Lived and worked in Westchester for a long time, but I'd never been on the island. So Long Island's kind of a whole new thing. And but what's really cool is I got a lot of paisanos there, and there's Italians everywhere. Even from where I live, 3 blocks is a Sons of Italy club from Italians. I got an authentic Italian sausage place with salomis and all kinds of stuff that I met the people. But the food culture here to me is just so great. I think, especially over Florida, that's what I think was missing is Florida had no soul when it came to food. You can get food, you can get stuff, but here, man, I got 2 Italian guys that literally speak love from Italy that get me all kinds of incredible stuff. I got a Greek guy. I get aged feta in a wooden barrel, like literally a wooden barel comes in and we got to break off the seal.
I got chills on that one. Yeah.
Brooklyn's not too far from me, so I needed pierogies for an event. I have a Polish lady who hand makes pierogies, made them, put them in an Uber for me, got them here. Chocolate company in Brooklyn I needed stuff from, same thing. Uber's changed the world, right? They just, okay, chef, we'll load it up in the Uber, it'll be here tomorrow. Friends in the city that send me things. So just that whole environment just makes you more passionate and keeps you going because, it just fuels the fire, as I say. And, my guys too, when they get everything. And I still, West Coast, Hawaii, I still get stuff shipped in and everything, but there's just so much here that's really incredible.
I love that.
Family's doing good. Celebrate my 3rd year wedding anniversary on Friday.
Oh, congratulations.
So,
wonderful.
3 years, so that's good. Still going.
Still going, buddy. I love it.
Man.
I love it.
So it's good. Yeah, I just came back from South Africa in February.
What were you doing there?
2 weeks. This is where my wife's from.
Oh, wonderful.
So,
wonderful.
Yeah, so went the year before too. And this time was cool. We're in Cape Town, it's where she's from. So,
okay.
But I spent some time actually with the chefs at this incredible hotel on the water called 12 Apostles. Actually learned Cape Malayan food with this incredible lady who has it's actually in her home. She has this little restaurant. She does cooking lessons and stuff in this very historic area. So cooked with her and, did all the posts on Facebook with it. So a great time. It's a beautiful country and just great opportunities. I went to a cheesemaker. It's an incredible farm where they do the milk and make the cheese and toured all the cheese rooms. And so, that's for me, it's vacation.
Only you would make your trip to your wife's homeland about food. I hope you prioritized right? As you needed to, right?
Oh yeah. I let her have like this girls' day or something. She had a girls' day she wanted. I took off. I went to the marketplace. I spent 3 hours in the food market, taking pictures, eating, buying stuff. So yeah. And I sent some pictures. everybody's like, I thought you were on vacation. Well, yeah, I am. This is good for me.
As only you would. I love that you brought up the Italian connection in Italy. I just finished Stanley Tucci's book. And
Yeah.
similar story, right? He grew up in Westchester and Italian family, and
Yeah, I just started. I'm on
oh,
this
you're
third
gonna love
chapter.
it. You're there.
Yeah.
There's probably 10 dozen recipes in that book, and one is easier than the next. They're so
Yeah.
simple. Eggs and tomato. I mean, really,
Yep.
eggs and tomato. My kids
Yeah.
devour it. They just love it. So let's segue from that. Gosh, I'm so happy we're doing this today. Let's start at the beginning. There's so much to talk about. It's a great story. Yours is. You grew up in this Italian family. Cooking was a big part of your life, still is. Take us back to what was that like in grandma's kitchen or mom's kitchen or the family
Nona's kitchen. Yeah.
Nola's kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as always with those families, it's always an extension. So, my mom had, I believe, what was it, 12 sisters. My grandma had 16 kids. Definitely no dish satellite, no Comcast.
No,
That's a
no.
lot of kids, man. So, and you look at those days, because I sometimes think about it, I was still a very young kid. So I have memories more in the later years. But when you think about how we live today and how things, even financially, can be challenging. So you have 16 kids, man, no superstores, no big stores. They grew a lot of everything in the backyard. You're self-sufficient. You had chickens running around. They had their own eggs. But I got involved because you come for those Sunday dinners, and everybody's got to help. So rather than do the dishes and stuff, I helped in the kitchen. And you sit there and you roll some pasta. You watch them making stuff, and even as I grew up with my mom, just always in the kitchen, she used to hit me with the wooden spoon on the hand. Stop touching. I take the fried meatballs and start eating them. And so I think what's important is, I've always said, out of all the things in the world, food is the one thing that unites people, brings people together, and all kinds of occasions, right? Sometimes sad, whether it's a funeral, whether something bad happened, marriages, anniversaries, business deals. I mean, birthdays. The scope of what I think brings people together around a table is more than anything else. No matter how much cell phones we have, apps, computers, and everything, the one thing that brings people together is dining. With restaurants, getting together, being social. So to me, it's very universal. But I think what I learned more importantly with an Italian family is, unlike today, where the kids will sit at dinner and,
Oh, sure.
do that, or you even see couples at restaurants, they're both sitting there on their phone, like, I'm not sure why they're out together.
Not talking to each other.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it was about eating, but it was also about being family and talking and conversation and talking about the food. And I think that's why sometimes the meal lingered so long. I remember I went to Palma for a big food exposition with a Italian family that has a pasta company I got involved in my early years, and we went to Taranto, and she owned a house right across the street from this restaurant. And the restaurant is on this hillside overlooking the mountains and everything. We walked in there, it was a Sunday. 200 people is all they take every Sunday. And as I walk through, you see all these tables, big tables set, right? The communion cakes, whatever it is. Kurt, I'm telling you, we literally, I think it was almost a 3.5 hour experience. Everything was served for family style or Russian service, everything in season. And then you just take breaks, you get up, you take your wine, you walk along, as people were smoking or just looking over the hillside. And I went back in the kitchen. Of course, I expecting to see the chefs and stuff. There's literally 6 Italian ladies, all cooking, cleaning, just loving what they do, And of course, I said, well, where are you from? America. Oh, America, Italian. Okay. And then they go, the problem with Americans. I'm like, here we go.
Right.
In Italy, we live to eat. In America, they eat to live.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
her message was the passion that they had, like, these 6 ladies, right, cooking for 200 people, cooking all kinds of dishes and cleaning and doing it, but coming from their heart. To them, it was almost as they didn't know, like, they knew a lot of these people, but people make reservations and come, but it was like feeding the whole family. Like 200 of my family are coming, we're putting on a feast. And it was the same at the house. You pass food, you talk about food, you talk about your day. And to me, that's a culture, I think, sadly being lost. Today, people having dinner in front of a TV, kids doing what they want, or maybe parents here, go get a pizza or something. And I think I learned the importance of that. And through all my travels, especially outside of the country, that's what, even when I apprenticed in France, lunch was, you stopped, you had a nice lunch.
Sure.
Made a big lunch, you talked, whether it was about food, the day, the business going on, or whatever. So that always registered with me and stayed with me. I had some other aspirations here and there, but it always came back to cooking, I guess, and wanting to share this thing called food that I know universally was always never going to go out of style, never be a fad. And it's an important way of life. And it's those who don't enjoy it to that aspect and have that centric thing about it, I think they're missing something important.
So clearly it was an inspirational time in your life, and it's how you grew up, and it sounds like how you still live your life. When did the whole concept of doing that for a living become reality for you? Like, hey, I can do this.
It's kind of, I think life happens for a reason sometimes, right? So I was in high school, middle school, and I wanted to go to the high school. I actually wanted to play football. I thought, yeah, man, I love football. And they were opening up the first ever in Connecticut trade school. There wasn't those kind of vocational schools at that time. And there was one in Hamden called Eli Whitney Tech, was going to be the first one. And I remember the counselors came and, my mother said, no, this is going to be a great school. You learn a trade, you learn something you like maybe. And even if you don't, you've gone through a 4-year process. And I remember going to the interviews because, you had to be interviewed, you had to be accepted at that time. It was a bigger deal. And I did get accepted. I had to give up football though, because, the state-owned school, they didn't have the money for a football team in the field. So I did some other sports, but I went through auto mechanics, fashion design, all kinds of different things. And I got to the culinary piece. And the culinary piece really was 2 chefs from the CIA, ex-chefs that were, in New Haven, that came to open this program up. You cooked lunch for the students. There was a dining room for the teachers, the faculty. And once I got through that part of my class and just kept doing that every day and talking to the 2 chefs that mentored me, one was Dominic DeMeo, Army Master Chef, served in the military. And I just saw the things you can do with food, and how you can bring happiness to people. I had a very artistic background, even fashion design, as a guy, I did very well because, I liked the artistic piece of doing things. And in those days, you applied it to food, right? You had straw-fraud hams, you had decoration, you do truffle, cocoa paintings.
Sure.
It was all that classical stuff that enabled me to even do my artistic side. So it really appealed to me. We do take these field trips, go to the farms, and sometimes we go to culinary competitions, and I'd see the chefs compete. And I think from then on, and then matching, what my mom was cooking and the family background and the dinners I used to go to, I said, this kind of makes sense. This is kind of steering me in a direction, I think. And,
very European
kind of history.
Very European, right? I mean, that's been the process in Europe for a very, very long time. You either continued with academic studies or you went down the vocational road. That's what my dad did, and he went all the way to Meister, right, in Germany. So Chef, I think some of that's coming back, more so apprenticeship type approach to education. And in your journey, and again, I'm thinking about my audience, right? Our audience here, so many students are listening. So as your journey as a cook and then a chef and as a leader, you've spent so many years apprenticing and helping other apprentice and honing your own skills. And quite honestly, I know you're humble, but ultimately becoming one of the most well-known and revered chefs in the nation or the world, right? And that's a lot of pressure, right? You've traveled France, Italy, Germany, England, Beijing, Singapore, Dubai, name it, South Africa. And talk a little bit, if you could, about your pursuit, and maybe even reference the book, right? Taste and Tales of a Chef, one of your many books. The pursuit of culinary knowledge. what drives you? I mean, just even starting today, you're talking to me about the food at the Cape, right? And the
Yeah.
neighborhoods in New York. I mean, it just doesn't stop. Where does that drive come from? That's what our students need,
Yeah, that's a good soul searching question, huh?
right?
Um, I think so. In fact, I saw somebody the other day, who's known me for a while, kind of, text, we were going back and forth, but said, saw my postings on LinkedIn and Instagram and said, when are you going to slow down? You've done all you need to do. You've done more than probably most people ever have accomplished, and yet you still keep doing it. And when you said the apprentice, I'm still an apprentice. I've always been, because I think some things, because I've asked myself sometimes what's wrong with me because I'm intense, I'm still fueled, and it is many years later still doing this. I guess maybe this would be the time to kind of at least have an even keel, and I just can't. I'm built competitive nature, number one. I've always felt I have to be the best I can be, because you mentioned nicely all the accolades and the list of awards, recognitions, trophies, everything in a box. Most of my stuff is in a box and storage, because the most important thing to me during this whole journey that's still going is when I get the notes and the texts. I look at the class at Westchester Country Club, which a couple of recruiters, and one, David Myers, knows me well. He says, I don't in my whole career recall a class of culinarians coming out of one country club, one big, and they had the hotel, they had the beach property, not just a club, but very special club. Class of people that come out of there and where they all are today, from Mike Ruggiero, Mike Mazzarazzo, Jonathan Moosemiller, Brian Beelan, two master chefs came out of there, having the team there and having chefs like Rich Rosendale, Dan Skinnell, the list can go on, the regional team, Drew Garms, all these people that I see today, all doing so well. When I get a text from like Nick Landry, when I was still in Chicago, he's, Chef, I'm coming into town. I want to buy you dinner. Please let me know if you have time, because I want to thank you for everything you've done. He goes, sometimes some of the things you push me to do, I didn't realize it at the time how valuable they would be. And he goes, not only personally, professionally, but personally as well. I went to see Daryl Schuler a couple of weeks ago, our master chef, who I was fortunate and honored to train for a couple of years. And he said, dude, you mean so much to me, the industry. He goes, you don't understand how many people you've touched and affected. And sometimes it's just from your postings, your philosophy, with every post that you put a message to, and because it all comes from you. He says, we know that you're real, how you feel. I've also always felt, somebody said, oh, it must be nice, you're on the mountaintop. And I've never looked at it that way. I do what I do for a living. I try to be the best. I do have a humble confidence that I have achieved some things, but I've always told people probably getting to the mountain was a lot easier than staying on the mountain.
Oh, no doubt. No
That
doubt.
journey of getting there was hard and had its challenges, but your energy, you're pumped up, you just want to keep going and win and do the things. Even when I competed, I think the difference between today and those days is, you get a bronze medal. Man, I'm pissed off. I didn't do good enough. You go back and you boom, boom, and you keep going and going. I remember there was a big show in Connecticut, one of the top shows there was, and Fritz was one of my mentors, and credible Culinary Institute, the Garmager, the dean. I'd go in there about 2 years. I remember silver, and I look at the food like there's no way. And then the third year I go into the, I'm waiting in the room, the room opens up and we run into the table, you see what your medal, ACF medal is. And I see perfect gold. And I stopped. I was like, wow, and the judges came around. I remember Fritz coming up to me and he goes, oh, shut up, you did this. But then he looked at me before he walked away, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. And he laughs when I tell him. He punched me in the arm. He goes, just want you to know something. You had a gold last year too. And you had a gold the year before. Just about, but just the gold. I said, but I got a silver. He goes, because I know you. And I knew if I gave you a goal then, maybe you'll slow down and maybe say, oh, here I am. But I wanted you to push yourself to keep getting better because I saw something in you. And that's why you have that perfect score today.
What a
At first I was like,
beautiful,
I
what a
said,
story,
okay,
huh?
got it. Um, but I always felt too, you don't ever want to be the guy who I used to do this. I was here, I was there. I think chefs sometimes can get complacent. I think if they've been in a property too much, the learning stops. I'm the chef. I know what I'm doing. But today you got to be ahead of the game, man. We worked together for a good 4 years at Cordon Bleu. And I remember one of my first class from doing my visits and watching, and the instructors teaching, and I see the kids on their phone. I see them doing this and that. And I remember having that discussion afterwards, how, hey, you got 16, 18 students sitting there, and guess what? They don't all learn the same. You're teaching out of a curriculum, a syllabus, but half of them aren't paying attention. I said, and the other interesting thing is these kids today can say, oh, saute. Oh, Chef Leonard's teaching saute or so-and-so, and then they can rate you. I said, it's a different world. So you have to be ahead of it. I think you get respected by, we always talk, every generation talks about the ones coming up, right? It's, I'm sure you're telling your
It's what we
kids
do. It's what we do.
when I was here. But things really have changed, from the energy. Sometimes I think the work ethic, how to get somewhere, the social media has really changed a lot of things. They see instant money. They see different ways to do things. I think sometimes they want to make it easy. They look at us like, you guys work too hard, get it, respected, but there is an easier way. But, in our profession, it's still, so the key to me is, I got a bunch of younger guys, pretty much everybody in my kitchen, at least 20 years younger. So you keep them motivated by mentoring, by showing them cool things, by doing a plate up that they're like, wow. That's how you get the respect. The title, your accomplishments, the initials after your name, to me, only hold so much water. It's what you're still constantly doing. So for me, when I say, I may be a mentor, I may be a teacher now and an influencer for people, but I'm still a student. I've always remained a student. I remember I sent some stuff to Brian Beelan in Detroit the other day. We exchanged our dinner pictures, and he goes, Chef, I don't know how you're always a plate ahead of us still. He goes, and we're young guys on the cutting edge. He goes, and you still find a way. But I think that's what you need to do. And I'm fortunate, I guess, Kirk, that honestly, it's a driven thing in me that is my DNA. I get excited about food. I get excited if I'm watching TV. I watched Stanley Tucci on the trip to Italy. Oh my God, I'm ready to jump into the TV. While I
so
watch
amazing,
certain
so
shows with
amazing.
substance. I sit at night, I write my menus. Sometimes on my day off, my wife's going, what you done? I'm writing menus. And I get excited at the dishes. I can vision them. I can see them coming together. Right now we're in summer, right? Just beautiful grilled peaches going into this salad, pickled plums into this salad. How are we going to make a contemporary presentation? How are we going to take a classical dish, make it into a new dish? And then, teaching people, when you get to teach people different things, and the cooks see for the first time something they never made before, and they get, they like a lot of these cooks, cassoulet was foreign name to them, right? So we made a beautiful seared duck breast, show them how to cure it, and then we did the cassoulet. And when they all took that spoon and took the bite of it, these are young, cool guys, right? They're like, oh my God, this is so good. But they've never seen a dish like that, and then you do the modern presentation with it. So that's what keeps me going, is that, I've always said leadership, there's books on it. You can talk for hours on it. You go to lectures. But at the end of the day, I really believe it's the ability to take a group of people and some individuals to a place in their life that they never would have gotten there, or at least where they are, total picture, if it wasn't for your caring, your influence, and your mentorship. If you do that, that's the most successful thing you do in life. It's not the cars you have left, the house you have, all the money in the bank. It's the people, the greatest chefs in time, from Escoffier to all these great chefs. It's who came through their kitchen. You look at Marco Pierre White and the people that came through his kitchen, Paul Bocuse, all these great chefs we can talk about. The legacy is not so much the food and what they accomplish. It's what everybody else is doing that came through that kitchen. And that, to me, is still a very important responsibility that I take seriously. And I get excited. And these guys now that I have here in New York, I'm going to develop them. I'm going to get them opportunities, and I know they're going to do well. And that to me is the most exciting thing outside of loving the food too. So it all fits together.
I so love that you're still a storyteller. Can I say? Let me before I move on, I have to comment on. I mean, first of all, the Fritz story is beautiful, right? We've all got one, right? We've all got one of those Fritz stories where he punches you in the arm. I love that. But mentioning Richard, mentioning Daryl, Danny, Brian, Moose, all these people I met through you as well. But the fact
Sean
that
Loving is another guy.
Oh, Sean, I mean,
Yeah,
so
great.
many years. Daryl was on the show a few weeks ago, and so passionate, so focused on what he's working on, so committed to it. And I know the list is longer. I definitely know the list is longer, but it's really important. It's a great lesson for those that are listening is don't forget those who helped you in the past, or those who you helped, right? So in your travel, chef, when you think about where you've been, what you've learned, who you've met, who you've taught, and how those experiences impacted specifically your career, is there that one moment? Is there a podium of insight that you've walked away with, or are you still writing that book?
Oh, you never stop writing, right? It's
Yeah,
as I always say, you put a new pen to a new chapter, and you try to make it better than the chapter before. But Kurt, I've been blessed. Like you said, I've been fortunate to be all over the world. So much time in like Germany because of competing with Team USA. I mean, I'm talking almost probably 16 years of going to Germany at least once a year, sometimes twice a year, spending great time there. Singapore, God, Dubai, Beijing, New Zealand, places I went, Spain, Lisbon, Portugal. I mean, the list goes on, France. And I've met some incredible chefs, incredible people, If I had to take one off the top of my head right now, would be Otto, who was the executive chef in Singapore. Otto was kind of the guy in Singapore that Raffles Hotel, right? The famous Raffles Hotel. That
sure.
I think might be a Fairmont now. But man, and the thing about Otto too that I've always respected is it's the people who came out of his kitchen.
Mhm.
I remember I went to Singapore to interview Resort World for a VP of food culinary and food and beverage. And Otto had a lot to do with getting me open that door, and the first thing they said to me is, what we're really looking for, chef, is somebody like Otto, because the people that go through his kitchen end up successful. He mentors, he teaches, he keeps a great energy. And that's what he spoke of with you, why we should be talking to you. And I remember, his hospitality whenever I went to Singapore. My last visit was December 15, I think, was my last visit. Took me to lunch, incredible place. We had dinner, talked about food, chefs all over the world, competitions, he says, I couldn't even pay for anything. It's no, you're visiting the country. I'm your host. He says, it's a pleasure to have you. But I remember being in Raffles when I stayed there, the times that I went there. And one morning he said, chef, you got some time for breakfast? I said, yeah, I don't want to bother you. I said, it's early. He goes, no, I'm here, believe me. So we sat and talked, and he says, yeah, I'm here every day at 6. I said, chef, why would you be here at 6 in the morning? You're the director of this huge hotel, man. He said, chef, think about it. What's the one meal in every hotel that the majority, 90% of your room people are going to eat? It's not lunch. They're out in business, they're touring, they're doing sightseeing. Sure. Dinner, man, we do a nice dinner business, and don't forget Europe, and as you know, in Asia is different, right? People actually do go to hotels to have dinner, but still the majority are going out, trying restaurants. He goes, everybody's here at breakfast. To me, it's the most important meal. If I don't visit the 3 restaurants and make sure the specs are there, our standards, everybody's doing their job, he said, that's our first touch point. And if they love breakfast so much, then there's a good chance they're going to make an effort to have another meal part in one of the other restaurants. And I sat back and said, makes a lot of sense. And from that day on, even the other day here, I was in at 6:45. Like they're looking at me like, okay, chef's here. You know, the
What's
morning
wrong?
people, the
What's
breakfast
wrong?
people, you know, members notice, because he was right. Sometimes you have to be there just to, you know, if I'm going upstairs to do menus, paperwork, but my presence is there. And then I can take a look and see what's going on. So I learned to him that the circulation of communication, seeing everybody, saying hello at all day parts, just not making the chefs who do the fancy dinner are important. You know, the breakfast guys are just important. And, you know, he always resonated with me because he was just, you know, and he was captain of Singapore, the culinary teams for so long. And he just shared so much. It was like, whatever you need, you know, I'm here for you when you come and visit. I mean, a lot, you know, John Sloan, there was Peter Knipp, great people all over the world. But you always get the one that, you know, Otto just amazed me in the hotel, how he ran in his philosophy for being who he was. And that's where I learned about humble confidence too. And I think, as you said, Fritz Sonderschmidt, right? We all got Fritz stories, probably more than, you know, I'll give you a quick other one. My first apprentice at the Culinary Olympics, I apprenticed for Fritz. I believe it was the 80 or no, the 84, 88 Olympics. And I'm down there. I said, what do you want me to do, chef? He says, gives me these pears. So fast. He takes the paring knife, makes Dutch shoes out of the pears, right? These little Dutch shoes, little melon ball scoop, because he was going to put marinated pickled melon balls in each thing to tie into his theme. So he goes, yeah, I need 24 of these. So Kurt, I'm up all night, man. It's in the morning. I'm so, and you know, and it's for Fritz. I'm trying to get him right. He walks in about 2 a.m. He looks at me, looks at him, throws one in his mouth and eats it. I'm like, and then he took the best 9 on the friggin' tray, and he took the rest of, do what you want. I just said, why'd you have? Well, don't worry about it. That's what I want you to do. I took the best 9 and he walked away.
Isn't that
And I'm
something?
still sitting there, my mouth open today, because, you know, and we shared, you know, he took me to the pork place across the street for schnitzels and for pork shank, all this. I always remember the 2 things he taught me on that trip was never forget where you come from.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he says, I got introduced to you by a phone call. Somebody said, look, this is a good young man. He wants to compete. He has a lot of interests. He follows your book. And for that friendship started in early 80s to now. In fact, we just talked actually last month. I want to say hello to him, how he's doing, that he's in Georgia. And he always said to me, he goes, Ed, no matter who you become, what award you win, stay to your roots, stay the person you always were on the way up. He says that's going to be more than any accomplishments you have. And, you know, those are, I guess, 2 things that, you know, I've learned about great cooking. I've learned about passion, food. I've watched chefs make incredible dishes that I've learned from. But those 2 things about that humble confidence, give more than you take, has always resonated in my career. And, you know, and in a world of me today, I do have challenges with it because it is a different world that way. And I still believe the other way is better. And I think, you know, hopefully we'll all swing back eventually to that, you
Yeah. Well said. Well said. So currently you're back in the Northeast, as we discussed. You're at Fresh Meadows. And could you, I'm always fascinated by this story. And you and I used to talk about this a lot in downtown Chicago when we were trying to figure things out, right? Take us all the way back to TrustHouse. And the reason for that, you were there over a decade. And for many people, chef, that's a career. But for you, that you were just getting started. I mean, that was just the beginning.
Starting point.
Take us back to how important, again, and I'm thinking about students and how scary it might be to go abroad. But I mean, there you were in England and working for a massive company, and you were there for over a decade. Tell us about why that was so important and how that sort of shot you into the next part of your career.
I think, you know, it was an unplanned, actually it happened because of the takeover, to be honest with you. So a part of my career, not a lot of people know about, but a part too, that was an integral part of my teaching. I was the executive chef at General Electric's world headquarters, which was based in Easton, Connecticut. Not just an office building by any stretch of imagination, right? Jack Welch, the #1 CEO in the world at that time, like the revered CEO, with a philosophy of be 1 or 2 in the world or get out of it and don't do it. You're either 1 or 2 in the world or you don't belong. And interesting dynamic, the building had a full-size cafeteria, cafe that we fed probably 500 meals a day. And Kurt, I'm talking about people coming in for lunch and getting a consomme Madeleine, high level food. He had 3 private dining rooms, one for the senior management, his dining room, right? Their unbelievable dining room table. I had a chef in each kitchen. Then there was the middle management and the junior management. We had a 26 guest house room that was designed by Ian Pei, all triangle architecture built into the side of the mountain. The elevator actually, not normal elevators would did the other way because of the, the design and going into the mountain. The kitchen was all black tiles, right? Beautiful guest rooms area. We fed all the corporate jets in Westchester, all the jets that left. And one of my chefs had my namesake, actually Thomas Leonard, who I still keep in touch with today on social media. I had some incredible chefs and cooks. Mr. Welch, I didn't have a lot of involvement with a guy at that level. I'm just the chef on property. But one of the stories I tell people was I was walking down the hallway. So there was, big basement kitchens there. We had a lot of levels. And I saw him, I'm looking down, I see him. I said, oh boy, big boss, the guy's here. And I'm getting a little nervous. I was a young guy at that time. And here's, the revered CEO. And the janitor's mopping in the air. And he stopped, shook hands with the janitor and talked to him. And then he started walking back again. He says, hello, chef, how are you? And he, turns to Chef Fit, right? He says, yes, sir. He goes, chef, I noticed you saw me talking to the janitor. And you're probably wondering, why would I be doing that as CEO of General Electric? He says, I'm going to give you a lesson today. He says, great communication. Obnoxious people think it's about high English, big words, being able to communicate with the wealthy or the very intelligent. He says, the best communicators in the life know how to talk to level people that are integral to your operation, like that guy who takes care of our building, our floors, your case, your stewards, your dishwashers, up to having a conversation with somebody as myself. He said, if you can master that for communication, to speak to all levels of people and acknowledge them all, and the other ones are as important as the others, you'll do well. And that was from Jack Welch, man. I just walked away, star days, what the hell? But I never forgot that.
Mm-hmm.
So I always, stewards, how you doing? How are you? I feed them well after the wedding, after the rough night. They get the steak dinners before anybody else is allowed to touch anything. So, and then TrustHouse Forte came in and bought out the company that had that contract. And it was my first opening eyes to what they called corporate catering. We had the hotels as well in the city. It was Plaza Athenate. It was the Westbury Hotel that I stayed at quite a bit. There's a big property at the airport called the Viscount. So TrustHouse, not a lot of Americans know about them. I call, he was the Marriott of England in his heyday. Little Italian guy who started this milk stands in World War II, brought property. It ended up being the biggest hotel and caterer, in England. And I was fortunate to be part of that because I got to travel I apprenticed in France because of them. Spent a lot of time in London, from cooking at the Cafe Royal to all this, learning cook chill before anybody understood what the hell cook chill was, sous vide or anything. They had owned these little chefs on the highway. And Kurt, we walked into this big commissary. I'm telling you, this is years before anybody knew this stuff, and they were doing it. I saw filet mignons get cooked medium rare. I saw eggs get poached. And then I would travel with the chef and the driver to the locations, and all they had was retherm ovens, minimal experience with cooking labor because they were designed that way, who would take this retherm oven, reheat the filet, redo the egg, and the egg still had the yolk running, still had the filet medium rare. They owned Wheeler's Fish Houses. They ran all the concessions at both airports. I went to Holland, France, all over England, not just London. Working for that company, not only did I get to work and have fun and get paid and do what I love, I got an incredible education.
Mm-hmm.
And, I got to see the best hotels. I got to stage in the Georges Saint-Jacques in Paris. I look at that 13 years. I was based in the States, but spent a lot of time overseas with them. And I got so many different things to do. I mean, even running corporate dining rooms like NatWest Bank on the water there in New York, that had the blue room, the green room, the red room, all named after the Limoges china from France. I had Andre Saltner's sous chef work during the day for me in those dining rooms, and then he'd go work with Andre Saltner. So the gas of what I learned and what I did there was just honestly incredible. And the one lesson I can give students, so there's two things I take away from that time, besides the great travel, the great food experience, and competing in Hotel Olympia, all these, honestly, going to Harrods Food Hall. I mean, it's mind-boggling when I think of those years. But the biggest takeaway is I remember they wanted me to go to New Jersey. They had a big problem on their major accounts there. And I'm like, New Jersey, what? No, I'm not going to New Jersey. Forget that thing. And I didn't take it. I didn't go. So I get a call from the secretary saying, Chef, CEO would like to see you tomorrow morning in his office, 9:00. So I go, right? Say, okay. Goes, Chef Leonard, how you doing? I said, good, sir. Goes, we want you to go to Jersey, but you didn't want to go. I said, no, Jersey's really not for me. So he says, okay, chef, but I'm going to give you a pass on this one. I'm just looking at him like, you're young sometimes, or you're pretty good at what you do in the company. He goes, this is a pass. And here's the lesson you're going to learn. When a company needs you, because we value you, we ask you to go there for a reason, because of what you do, what I see you do, how you can train people. And when a company needs you to do something, if you want to succeed in that company and keep moving up the ladder, you kind of need to do what they need you to do. He goes, so this is a pass. And I hope next time I need you to do something, you're going to be right in that fire line, jumping and doing. And sure enough, I did. And those are things you learn that you don't think of, that when somebody wants you to do something, company, you're like, I really don't want to, but that's how you progress. When you look at even the great hotels, the Ritz, the Four Seasons, if you work in an environment, they need you to go open this or go do that. That's how you become valuable in that company and keep moving ahead.
Sure.
Or you become a dinosaur and stay in a property till maybe the day's up. So that was a valuable lesson. And the other one was, I remember being called to the Westbury Hotel for dinner with the president. And he said, I'm talking to you tonight. At that time, I was vice president of operations, food and beverage for all New York, Mid-Atlantic. I mean, great catering properties, catering business, the hotel, we had a great hotel in DC with what's his name, the French chef there, Jean Pierre, who, just great stuff that I was doing. And he said, we want you to take over as executive vice president of sales and marketing for North America. And I honestly, I sat there and I'm looking around saying, you sure the secretary made the right appointment with me? You didn't find it funny though. And he's looking seriously, he goes, that's what we need you to do. He goes, there's attributes that I see in you when you walk into a room and how you sell, how you manage your passion. He goes, I kind of need you to do this now because we're having some challenges with our revenue and getting new accounts.
And he had no more passes.
So I'm the culinary guy, right? I'm everything. And I took the job, Kirk. I did it. And as I tell people today, when I still think of my positions, and I think the cool thing about when you work for a company like that younger people, if they're listening, you can stay 10, 13 years somewhere. But when I look at what happened from being an executive chef at a property, then to a regional chef, to a regional manager, district manager, and then I was director of operations. In that 13 years, I had 6 different positions or 5 different positions, each one a growing position, each one a learning position. Each one taught me that know what you know and know what you don't and get help from what you don't. Because when I was made director of operations, I knew the budget was issues. I knew there was a lot of problems there. And I'm a chef, I'm a culinary guy, right? I'm a passionate food and beverage leader. I didn't know finance was not my strength. So what did I do? I hired a regional manager, had a financial degree, was very solid. And I said, the key is surround yourself with the best people, better at you than some of the skill sets that you probably don't have or learn. But your job is to support them, manage them, make them part of the team, and lead them into the vision and direction you're going. You don't need to know everything. And then during that time, you do learn what they know to a good point that helps you manage. And I did that job. And I'll still say it's one of the worst jobs that I had in my career, as far as position and me getting excited sometimes every day. But I look back, it taught me the most, and it taught me that, and this is another thing, we don't always see the future. We don't always know what holds in store for us. That almost 2 years taught me a lot. They sent me to a management school, Demside Consulting. I learned about sales management. I did study at Fleischman and Hillard, which is still one of the biggest consultants in New York. I sat in a boardroom with a problem and issued cameras, and they would do these role plays like, this just happened. Here's the press asking you questions about this. I'm like, and all that stuff, when I became president of the American Culinary Federation, from being able to speak, right, being able to get all that training and all that business acumen, having a vision, presenting the first 5-year budget and game plan, to the ACF, and getting up to speak comfortable in front of 1,200 people, and doing it the way that I do, from my heart, from here. Because I remember when I got off that stage after my first speech in Orlando, 1,200 chefs, and ACF's running, press is here. We need a copy of your speech. We got some opportunities to promote this stuff. I said, sorry, I don't have anything. And she goes, Chef, stop joking. Where is it? It's on the podium. I'll go get it. I said, I'm sorry, I really don't have it. She said, so you spoke from an hour, from the top of your head. And I said, yeah, that's what I do. If I don't say anything unless I really feel about it. I said, there's some pointers. You go get my index cards. I got some pointers I wanted to discuss, but that's it. But I look at everything I did, then when I went to the famed Westchester, and I love Westchester because of the Biltmore Hotel. You go to a club that has a hotel built in 1926, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Biltmore, the combination of the history, the new. I remember my first 3 months, the board wanted me to present, because I was just there now. They said, GM said, Chef, they want you to make a present, just talk about what you need. And so I went up there. I had a computer, I had a PowerPoint, I had a screen, they're all looking. They just want to have, I think, a conversation. And I remember the president going, Chef, you need pots, pans, okay, tell us what you kind of need. I said, well, I kind of got a presentation. So I gave my vision, where I wanted to be with the culinary team, what we wanted to do, the importance of priorities. And I remember putting employees and team members, then members number 2, and Mr. Pepe, great president. He said, Chef, just time out a sec. He goes, you know why we hired you? We're a member club, correct, Chef? I said, yes, sir. He goes, well, you have members number 2. I said, Mr. Pepe, we got 2 choices. There's that beautiful driveway in the back where security is and the loading dock that everybody comes to work. If the team members go into that parking lot, get out of their car and say, oh man, really, I got another day here again? You got to be kidding me. What kind of member services and experience are you going to have? But if they get into that car, can't wait to say, kid, what Chef got in store for us today? I can't wait to cook this thing. I can't wait for this party. We're doing something great. I said, the member experience is going to be 10 times. I said, we got happy team. You're going to have very happy members. The other way around doesn't work so well. He just sat back. They just all looked and continue, Chef. Next day, the GM calls me in. He goes, 2 things. 1, they want to know where the hell I got you from. And 2, now I have to make all the other department managers come up with their vision of what they're doing for their department. They want to know why this never been done. So, but that's, I guess the moral is that time at TrustHouse took me away from what I really love to do sometimes, but taught me, I guess, to be the chef that I was going to become, and have that business acumen to look at things differently, to know the importance of marketing and sales and building revenue. And there's just so much that I was fortunate to spend in that time that I think it kind of was the launch pad for where I knew I'd end up. And mind you, having a vice president role, corporate role, and then deciding to go back into, I started a company at that time, and ended up at Westchester. So I went back to my roots and what I love to do, but this time with a whole different way of looking at things and things that I learned through so many good people.
Great response. Great storytelling as always. Let's talk competition for a bit. So I think we both agree that competition of any sort, right, can develop you as a person. You have been a professional competitor, leader, tasted victory at the Olympics, as we talked about, over 30 medals, and then some. Just super. It's a big topic, probably a whole nother podcast if
Yeah,
you
well, funny you say that. I got a podcast with Rich Rosendale tomorrow at 10:30. I'm
oh
on
my
his,
goodness, oh my
and
goodness.
that's what he's focusing on.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much there in our time. What does it take? And I know the journey is important, and I know the experience is important. But you told me one time we were talking about going to take your Master Chef exam, and you said you don't come to take this exam to learn. You come to take this exam and demonstrate what you know. There's no right or wrong there. It just is what it is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So for today, and again, I don't want to make the focus on winning, but I kind of do. What does it take to win? What does it take to win?
Yeah, that's no, and you're right. We kind of live that. I mean, I used to have when the team came to Westchester and we had our practice sessions, I used to have a big banner up that says, "You don't win silver, you lose gold." Um, they all look at that, I think it takes, you don't always win, right? At the end of the day. But you have to try and I think that's sometimes the difference. And I think when I look at how we've evolved and where competitions are sadly not as prominent as when you and I grew up in the business. And you have the Bocuse, which is a big marketing machine now. So there's still some hindrance. You still have the Olympics. But I find today when people don't succeed like they think they should, they just drop it and stop.
Mhm.
As where many years ago, people just kept fighting and fighting till they got there. And, maybe they never would, but there's always that trial. There's always, because what it brings, you got two factors. To me, the most important thing, and, the gold medals and stuff and trophies are all nice, but it is the relationships you build, the networking you're able to do, the friends you have when it's all said and done. You push yourself to get better because you're competing against other people, or better yet, if you're on a team. When you look at my teams, man, damn, I had 3 master chefs on that team. So talk about, trying to lead 3 master chefs in the battle and, the other chef. And, so you got to be on top of your game, but you learn and you share. And then, I used to bring in people like, God rest on Peter Timmons, Ferdinand Nats, Hartman Hankey, guys that I know that would push or make us think differently. But winning at the end of the day, with all the shortcuts we can see in life, whether it's TikTok, whatever it is, to get where you maybe need to be notarized, winning has no shortcut. You have to put into time. You have to practice. You almost have to live it every day. You have to be able, I always say, true character in a person is never shown when life is going well and things are going well. True character happens when your back's against the wall or things just don't quite go the way you plan. When I look at the year, ironically, was when we won the championship in 2004. It was funny because, we went there with a whole different, maybe 2 different on our cold presentation, right? We're out first for the cold table. We built this ridiculous table, spent too much money probably, but this table with all these different things that we thought was cool. We were maybe a little progressive in our food. And I think we got away from probably where we should have been a bit, we got a high silver, which was good, but man, we didn't get gold. So imagine your first day out, you're the national team, you get a silver, there's expectations. The pastry chef at that time was Trish Nash, and did a phenomenal, unbelievable pastry display that actually did get gold, which that score total, added up. But we had a gold and 2 silvers on our cold, and we were disappointed. Dan Scannell, Russell Scott, again, CMCs, that whole team outside of the pastry. And I remember walking by the Canadian table, after everything went up, and we were very competitive. I had some good friends in Canadian, but there were a couple too that, oh, the great American power didn't do so well today, did they? As we walked by. And man, I started to turn around quick. And I remember Dan grabbed, he said, "No, chef, let's keep going." So we got to the hotel, everybody's kind of bummed out. You're tired, right? You don't go to bed for 24, 34 hours. So we had breakfast the next morning. And I said to everybody, I said, look, we have 2 choices here today. We still have the hot program. And in the scheme of things, hot food is what we do every day of our life. That's the most important part of this competition. Even Ferdinand Metz used to say, the hot food is where chefs should excel. That's where you show how you're really a chef.
Mm-hmm.
Some people can be an artist and do incredible cold platters. Doesn't mean they can cook, run kitchens. And I said, we have two choices. We don't do very well going into the next 2 days in our hot kitchen. We fly back home with sulking, people attacking us, making their feedback, their criticisms. That's the world we live in. Or we can get our crap together, forget yesterday, and not discount it. We still got 2 silvers and a gold. We're still up there. And we just go in there in 2 days and rock the shit out of the hot kitchen, where it counts, where it really matters, where we've spent most of our time. Those are our two choices. Are we resilient? Do we have great character? Do we really care about what we do? And let's just go have fun and cook the food we love to cook. We made this menu. We developed this menu. And at that time, we had a little surprise for everybody in our menu. And you being of German descent would appreciate it. We did a German dumpling. But the difference in that dumpling is we stuffed it with braised venison neck, which hadn't been done before. And we went to that hot kitchen, right? And Switzerland's next to us. I forgot, from the Iceland countries, and as you know, those days they kind of taken over Culinary Olympic. So we had them right next to us, right? Norway, we had the other team, and they're bringing all these fancy refrigerators, all this stuff, and that was our competition. That was a heavy day, man. Canada was there. And we did our thing, right? And the funniest thing is, I remember Joachim Buchner, great friend and master German chef and American. He was in charge of the dumplings, and I'm sitting there saying, "Chef, how many dumplings you got done?" And then I said, and he tells me, right? And I said, "Well, this is so many minutes of dumpling. We really got to push it because." And he looks really like. And we did our meal. We did this incredible braised, this roasted venison with these cool condiments, but the dumpling. And we cleaned up, right? We're tired. We're done. I thought we did a good job. I remember when the judge is walking by, punched me in the arm, said, "Chef," whatever language it was, "nice job." He goes, "The dumpling. Wow." We all cut it open and said, "What is this?" He goes, "We didn't expect it." Because, we did the butter sauce over with the crumbs like you would get used to, full potato dumpling, but stuffed with that venison neck. And then I remember being at the awards ceremony, right? You're on pins and needles, everybody's there, and they're giving the medals out. And they're going through, they always went top to bottom. And then they got to the, hot kitchen and everything. And, you're not called, right? Now all of a sudden, you're not feeling so good. It's like, man, Canada got called, Norway got called, Switzerland got called. I'm like, man, then all of a sudden they said, highest gold medal in competition, Team USA. Everything erupted. I was standing in back. Kurt, honestly, when I got up there, if you look at the pictures from that Olympics on the award stage, when everybody had to stand up and the national anthem played, and the best part was the Canadian team was right in front of us. And we're getting that. And honestly, I had, you look at the picture, my eyes are a little water. And I remember Peter Knipp, who's very big in Singapore, marketing guy and everything, and Tech called me on the phone. He goes, an American who shows emotion too. Breaking my chops a little. He goes, "Great job, chef." And that moment, still to this day, just means so much because it showed that the team, everybody had character. Yeah. It showed we weren't going to give up, that we still had an opportunity to show we were the best. And the last time, team won in the hot kitchen, the championship, I think was Metz's last team in 84 or 88. And I remember getting a personal letter from Ferdinand about that win and what I did. And that meant the world to me. But just to bring a bunch of people together that have that as always a memory, that's just, nobody can take it away. We finished third in the world. We finished ahead of Canada. It was a great plane ride home, no doubt, and a great celebration. It was a special time. But that's what it takes. It takes that determination. It takes the practicing. It takes work, man. But I also think it takes something from deep inside that you have to have. You have to reach in sometimes when it doesn't always go the way that you maybe want it to, because as you know, food is subjective, judging is very subjective. But, through the years, for me, competition was always a way to just improve myself, get better. And I look at the chefs that have done it because, people started labeling competition chefs. There's competition chefs. No, there's competition. There's some very, very good competition chefs that are extremely successful and great cooks and chefs in their restaurants and everything. But I think it just teaches you a discipline. You learn to work in a clean manner. You learn to work under pressure. That experience, no doubt, helps. It helps when you go to get your master's.
Mhm.
But even then, the CMC, which is always controversial about how many make, how many fail. When I look at that, and Brad Barnes was my partner in crime when we studied. Brad and I spent a lot of time cooking, studying, and probably one of the biggest, when somebody says, what was the key thing? You got to take one thing that you think helped you going into that exam. I said, plain and simple. I said, Brad and he was corporate chef for a group of restaurants. And I was executive chef at Restaurant 64, Greenwich Avenue, 2-story restaurant. First of its kind on that avenue, 3-star of the New York Times. Brad and I we didn't fire anybody. We took the 2 cooks off the line that used to work and have them prep and have them help expedite. Brad and I went behind that line every Friday, Saturday night for 220 covers, switching stations every other night. And we cooked for 3 months solid, like a chef running a place would not go back and do. But I said to me, what am I going to do? I'm going to cook, man. It's a test. But I'm going to cook food that I love, doing what I love to do. And I remember Dieter Dopperfield one time. He used to hide behind the racks with his notepad and clipboard watching me sometimes. And he came up to me, before it was over. He said, I watch you every day. He says, you have no papers on the board. You don't pin stuff up. You don't have timers. He goes, I can tell you're at home. He goes, you love what you do. The food's connecting with you. You know when to check the stove. You know when to do these things. A person across from me had the whole board every day with, take this out, do this. That wasn't cooking to me, But when I reflect, I think it's going back behind the line, which is a hard thing to do, right?
Yeah,
I
sure.
haven't been behind the line in a long time. And just to get not my mojo back, but my timing, my sense of being in that environment of cooking. And because what it's like, right? Tickets are in, you got to get food out. That was probably more valuable, which shows that no matter what you accomplish too, going back to what got you there and excelling at that and making sure you love to do that as part of your DNA is going to help you in the, as you say, the winning form.
Winning has no shortcut. I'm grabbing all kinds of quotes from our time together today. And here's the really good news, Chef, is that we've just touched the surface. So I have to bring you back because I've got a lot of notes on some other areas that I'd like to go. But before I let you go today, the name of the podcast is The Ultimate Dish. And I know that this is going to get emotional. So, Chef, what is the ultimate dish?
The ultimate dish, man.
Hey, the braised venison dumpling is starting to
Oh yeah.
to set in a little bit, right?
Well, it's funny again because I've been blessed to eat all over the world, man. And when you go to places, right, people want to impress or people want to. I remember going to this progressive dinner in Hong Kong. Actually, stayed at the Disney in Hong Kong, right? And man, what a dinner! Held by Chef Rudy. And I remember being there, and on the last wing of that dinner, we're sitting in this big room. These Asian women come up with these silver trays and domes, right? A chef in each corner, pop open the dome. Beautiful baby stuffed roast pig that was stuffed, sewn back together, immaculate. And they brought it to the chef who sliced it, fed it to us. I mean, hot pots with Wagyu. I mean, when I think about all I've been fortunate to experience, and you're asking me to pick the one ultimate dish. And I would say similar to watching Stanley Tucci, right? And starting to read this book. My first trip to Italy, and I was fortunate. I had 5 trips, especially, I wanted to see where my grandmother was from, Naples and everywhere. And honestly, Kurt, one of my favorite foods to this day that I still play with, and now I got my wood-fired pizza oven, is pizza, man. And when I went to Naples, the home of where it all was, right? It started. And that chef, showed me what they were doing, took that pie out of the oven, sat down, and we ate it. Oh my God. You know, I said, shit, this is pizza, man. This is not this stuff that I'm making back in my country. I gotta get into this. Something so simple. And even today, and we did. I got this beautiful wood-fired oven that we light up, and the members, we made margarita. And when you look at the core of something like that, Kurt, it's flour, water, some dough starter, yeast, a little olive oil, and salt. It's tinned tomatoes, right? But I buy DOP certified San Marzanos. Incredible, real, extra virgin olive oil, hand pulled fresh mozzarella, and I use a 24-month aged Reggiano. Quality ingredients, but when you look at that pizza, what is it?
So
Right? There's
simple.
no
So simple.
tall things coming out of it. There's no opening a sous vide bag after 16 hours. And there's probably on personal roads you don't put that pizza in front of when it's done right and the crust is bubbled and rise, and you take a bite of that just put a smile on their face and say, wow. And that to me is the essence as we end this to all great food. I've seen trends come and go. I've been part of doing trends, right? But I've always felt at the end of the day, great tasting food, done simple but elegant. Ferdinand Metz taught me a long time ago, and he used that word, and I looked at it and said, simplicity with elegance. Got it. He goes, no, you don't. He said, I gave you these 3 words, but trust me, as you go through your career, trying to master something that's simple at its core, and yet putting elegance to it and making it a wow factor will always be a challenge. And if I had to reflect my cuisine, that's what it is. I'm not maybe my posts do vary. There's times it is a little artsy and it is that, very modern, but it's still great tasting food at its core. And then there's times there's just great tasting food. There's just putting, like the other night we had Michigan asparagus, purple asparagus, green asparagus, beautifully done on the bottom. 2 whale soft shell crabs coming from the friggin' ocean that was delivered to me within 24 hours, sauteed in brown butter, a little frisee salad on top. Man, what is better? It may not be the sick, but to me it's sexy because when you see food and it makes you hungry. When I see a dish of food, or you see a picture of food and you look at it and it makes you hungry, as a cook and chef, you've accomplished the best thing you can accomplish for a person. If they ask what it is, or they say it's pretty, and don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking any of these, Grant Atches is incredible, right? I knew him before when he was at the hotel and did a 18-course dinner for me. But there's people that leave Alinea who say, oh my God, this was great. I'm not sure what this was, but the experience was unbelievable. Well, a person could see that plate of food and know what it is and look at it and get hungry, and just every bite they savor. As a cook, you've done your job. And that trend will never, ever go out of style, my friend.
How come I knew that was going to be beautifully said, right?
Ah,
Hey, I miss you, buddy. I love you. Thank you
too,
for
man.
being on the show. Unbelievable. I think we need to change it to the ultimate dishes.
Yeah, right. Because if we had time, I'd probably give you 4 more that I would say, that these memories come but it always comes back. I'll be honest with you. No matter what dish I would give you, it comes back to just simplicity of, I was fortunate to do consulting in Lisbon with the Portuguese national team. Great bunch of chefs and cooks. And Portugal, oh my God, Kurt, the pasty pastries, sardines. I mean, my hotel was 2 blocks from the ocean. I used to go sit there in the morning, have my cafe in the morning with a little Portuguese roll and some porchetta before the chefs would pick me up. This old guy sitting across from me, got to know. He goes, you know how old I am, sir? No, how old are you? He said, 70s or so. He goes, I'm 92. I looked at him. Wow. Shows me this little thing of port. He goes, every day since I was 19 years old, I had this little glass of port, 1 a day. You want to live long time? Get our port and you drink it every day.
One a day.
But we went to a restaurant that night. And, the chefs know chefs, right? So we get in, we sit at this beautiful table, the 4 of us, the line starts forming outside. And Kurt, all we ate that night was seafood, literally caught 20 minutes away, steamed, fried, frito, broiled, sauteed. no fancy sauce, they had condiments, but no fancy presentations, no sous vide this, no that. And every bite, Kurt, was just like, man, I'm eating something that just was caught today, done today. Those things are what really builds the memory. The cool dishes you remember because they're cool and this was nice, even the ones I do sometimes. But when I take some of my contemporary, what people call cool dishes, and I still take those things that everything I knew was just caught today, or my ahi tuna that was from Hawaii, shipped 24 hours and lightly seared and put together with the right accoutrements. Man, that's the kind of food that will never, it's majority of people eat, will never go out of style. And you learn to master that, then the rest kind of comes natural to you.
I love it. So, absolutely beautiful chat. Great great to see you. Try not to work so hard, buddy. I know that you will continue to do that, and let's try to figure out a chance to see each other. Okay.
Yeah, we shall. We do that, man. Good stuff.
Thank you for listening to the Ultimate Dish Podcast, brought to you by Auguste Escoffier School of Culinary Arts. Visit escoffier.edu/podcast, where you'll find any materials mentioned during the podcast, including notes, links, and other resources. You can also browse other episodes and subscribe.